Hello, everybody. Mike's got me getting videotaped here so he can put it up on YouTube. We're back in Genesis. We're going to be in chapter 9 tonight, but as is our custom, we'll do a review. This is one of the most exciting stories ever in the history of all mankind. It's so exciting they just made a big movie out of it. And so that story is the story of Noah's Ark. And it's also a very, very important story from the entire biblical perspective. The reason being is because God passed judgment on the whole earth and destroyed the earth. And then we're going to find out again during our review that he promises Noah he's not going to do that again. But we do know that in end times, that when Jesus returns, we will see also a new destruction to the earth. God will be doing it through something called the bringing of a new Jerusalem. In other words, heaven on earth. And so that's something that is for another study. But tonight, we'll just go and talk a little bit about what we just learned about last time in the book of Genesis as it regarded Noah. So do you guys remember anything about chapter 8? If you remember, it's the end of the flood. The flood is ending. In fact, in chapter 7, verse 24 finishes, the waters flooded the earth for 150 days. What's the first verse that we hear in chapter 8?
God remembered Noah.
God remembered Noah.
Yeah. And the animals and the wild livestock.
Right. Now, think about this for a few minutes. There was nobody else on the earth to remember. All right. This is a way for us to be reminded that there is a lot going on in the universe, that God rules the entire universe. And we're a part of that. We're an essential part of it. But really what's most important is for us to remember that God remembers us. Even if we're in the middle of a storm or a horrible situation, that He is there with us. He never leaves us. He never forsakes us. God is with us. And so that's how chapter 8 begins. God remembered Noah. Now, the water on the earth began to recede. Started going back. And if you remember, did the water all come just from rain?
No, it came from the ground.
It had to come up from the ground. Scientists, time and again, have already studied how much water vapor is in our universe. In the sky. There's not enough there to flood the whole earth. Not to the depth that they're talking about here. Now, I also said that even from a geology perspective, geologists believe the mountains weren't even as high then as they are now. They believe that the earth, underneath the earth pushes the mountains up. When we were in Arizona recently, during the tours, they were talking about that. But that's how we kind of got the Grand Canyon. That actually at one time, Arizona was really where the Pacific Ocean met land. It wasn't a California, and it was all running up against Arizona and Colorado. And that was what was receded as the earth pushed up and causing all that. So the waters receded. At the end of 150 days, the water had gone down. On the 17th day of the 7th month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. Where did we say Ararat was?
Well, they believe it's Turkey.
Yeah, they believe it's in Turkey. In fact, there is a mountain range in Turkey called Ararat. The waters continued to recede until the 10th month, and on the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains became visible. Wow. Now we're in verse 6. After 40 days, Noah opened the window he had made in the ark and sent out a raven. And that was a mistake.
Why?
That's why I'm asking you. It's that birds, and we all know what bird he eventually sends out.
Dove.
Oh, a scavenger.
Right, we eventually send out a dove. But what is some of the big difference between a raven and a dove? It has everything to do with the type of bird.
Isn't it? I would say a raven's mean and a dove's gentle.
Right, that's true. That is true, but not in this. That's probably not what. Remember, the raven doesn't come back. The raven doesn't come back. Why? Why doesn't the raven come back?
Because he found land.
He
or
did.
A tree or something.
Far, far away. Ravens are very powerful birds, very strong flyers. Doves aren't. They're like, we see the pigeons around here. Okay? These pigeons can't go south for the winter. All right? They're not geese. They don't have that big strength to them. Ravens can cross great distances. And he's also a scavenger. So there is stuff out there that he can eat, unfortunately. He doesn't need to come back. So Noah learns this lesson. And then he sent out a dove to see, this is in verse 8. Then he sent out a dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground. But the dove could find no place to set its feet because there was water over all the surface of the earth. So it returned to Noah in the ark. Noah reaches out his hand and took the dove in and brought him inside the ark. He waited how many more days?
7.
7 more days. An important number in the Bible, referring to completion. 7 days, and he sends out another dove. When the dove returned to him in the evening, there in his beak was a
olive branch.
What does a dove with an olive branch in its mouth mean?
Peace.
Peace. It's been used forever as a sign of peace. A dove with an olive branch. All right, this is where it comes from, that sign for peace. It comes from the sign of man making peace with God. All right. Okay. Then Noah knew that the water had receded from the earth. He waited, how many more?
7 more.
Days, and sent the dove out again. See, you can tell it's coming. But this time, the dove doesn't return. Why is that?
Must have found some land to land in.
Something that a dove can live in.
Yeah.
Not like a raven. All right? A dove can live in. So, verse 13. By the first day of the first month of Noah's 601st year, it's a good thing there wasn't Social Security in those days, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The water had dried up from the earth. Noah then removed the covering from the ark and saw the surface of the ground was dry. By the 27th day of the second month, the earth was completely dry. Verse 15. Then God said to Noah, come out of the ark, you and your wife, and your sons and their wives, bring out every kind of living creature that is with you, the birds, the animals, and he explains all this. So Noah came out together with his sons and wives. All the animals and the creatures came all out, one kind after another. Look at verse 20. What does Noah do? Now that he's on dry land, what's the first thing he does?
Built an altar to the Lord.
He goes ahead and he shows his appreciation for God. He built an altar. What's an altar?
Rock.
Exactly right. It's where you talk to God, right? That's really what worship is. When we're praying to God, that's worship. All praying to God is a conversation. We kind of get caught up in it, don't we? Almighty Lord, creator of heaven and earth. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes we feel as though we can't pray like that. It's because God just cares about the heart. It's exactly what Noah does here. He honors God. And he builds an altar that shows everybody this is a place where Noah is honoring God. An altar. Now, altars are going to play a big role throughout the Bible. They're going to be all over the place. We're going to be studying Abram here real soon. Or Abraham. He's going to build a bunch of altars. Later on, as we studied before in Joshua, we know that it was Joshua went into the promised land. He was building altars. Sometimes right in the middle of the Jordan River. He was building these altars. All the way up to the time of Christ. And we'll see these things happening. All right. So verse 20. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord and taken some of all the clean animals and clean birds. Wow, remember that? I mean, the old Sunday school class goes like this. How many different types of animals did Noah bring into the ark? And the answer is 2 of every kind, right? Mm-hmm. But there weren't. Actually, we learned 2 weeks ago that he was bringing 7 of these clean animals. And we were wondering what that was all about.
Food.
Food was one of the things we're thinking of, right? But we found out last week what that really was. Then Noah built the altar, right? All right. And taking some of the clean animals and clean birds. This is all before the law is given, where we talk about kosher. Mm-hmm. All right. So, clean animals, clean birds. He sacrificed burnt offerings on it. He kills the animals. He's got a fire. He puts the animals on the fire instead of eating them. And the fire consumes them. All right? And then that smell goes up into the air. All right?
Yep.
All right? We love that aroma, don't we?
Yeah.
You know?
Grilling.
Grilling?
Yeah.
It's one of our favorite aromas as well.
Yeah.
Well, God likes it, but he likes it for a different reason. The Lord smelled the pleasing aroma, but this is what God says in his own heart. Never again will I curse the ground because of man, even though every inclination of his heart is evil from childhood. And never again will I destroy all living creatures as I have done. So, every element of our heart is evil since the time we were children. It's the original sin.
Yeah.
We're born into it.
Can't get away from it.
Did you ever have to teach anybody how to be selfish? No. Children, I didn't have to teach my kids to be selfish. They brought that with them. They must have learned that in school or something. I don't know. No, they're naturally we were all looking out for ourselves. It's very, very difficult.
Part of human nature.
That's
Yeah.
the whole point. It's exactly right. Human nature is the fall. All right?
Free will.
That's
It's the
right.
element of free will.
That's right.
Hence the reason why Christ has to come. Because here Noah is sacrificing these animals. We've already learned about Abel, who Cain slew. All right? Now, I want you to remember that too, because we're going to come back to that in a second. Because Abel is offering animals to God. His first fruits, the first ones, the very best he has. Whereas Cain didn't. He was a farmer, and he offered some of his crop as well, but it wasn't the first fruits. And his heart was in the wrong place. He gets jealous of Abel and kills him.
Yep.
The first murder. All right? And then this continued all over the place. That's the reason why God destroys the earth. Because everybody's heart is wicked. But here God creates something called the Noahic covenant, a promise with Noah. I'm not going to destroy the whole earth anymore. Verse 22, as long as the earth endures, this is his promise. Seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never cease. Life will go on. And it's believed this happened about 10,000 years ago. And so far that's been the case. All right? All right, any questions about where we were before we move into chapter 9?
And you say that he's going to come back and destroy the earth. I don't think he's going to have to. I think we're going to do it.
Well, you may not be far off, because the belief is this is going to be by fire this time. And you're right. God, if we destroy it, God's not going to be the one destroying it.
Fire with the guns and the cuckoos that are all shooting each other.
Nuclear weapons.
Especially overseas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a lot of
And that's all they
fire.
want to do is fight.
Yeah,
They're
well,
doing over here. Look at the kids in the schools now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, but
know.
we're talking about possible global nuclear war.
Yeah, I understand, but I'm just saying it's.
No, you're still on Mike, you're right. Again, this is what it says. This is what gets me. After 10,000 years, we're all still evil. We're all still looking out for ourselves.
Yep.
It's so unusual to find people who give to anybody else regularly, or will sacrifice themselves. All right. So never again will I destroy all living creatures as I have done. That being with the flood. All right. So we're in chapter 9. Now remember Abel, who tended animals. Cain, who was a farmer. Here you have Noah sacrificing animals as we now roll into chapter 9. Now, things are going to get a little dark here. All right? Just want to let you know that. I mean, we've just seen the entire destruction of the earth. All right? And that's dark. But this is also going to be a little dark as well. But I want you to know that later on, chapter 11, coming real soon, Abram comes in. And we get to see some really neat things. So let's begin. This is chapter 9 in Genesis, verse 1. Then God blessed Noah and his sons, saying to them, be fruitful, increase in number, and fill the earth. The fear and dread of you will fall upon all the beasts of the earth and all the birds of the air, upon every creature that moves along the ground, and upon all the fish of the sea. They are given into your hands. Everything that lives and moves will be food for you. Just as I gave you the green plants, I now give you everything. But you must not eat meat that has its lifeblood still in it. And for your lifeblood I will surely demand an accounting. I will demand an accounting from every animal. And from each man too I will demand an accounting of the life of his fellow man. Whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God has God made man. As for you, be fruitful and increase in number, multiply on the earth and increase upon it. Then God said to Noah and to his sons with him, I now establish my covenant with you, and with your descendants after you, and with every living creature that was with you, the birds, the livestock, and all the wild animals, all those that came out of the ark with you, every living creature on earth. I establish my covenant with you. Never again will all life be cut off by the waters of a flood. Never again will there be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, this is the sign of the covenant I am making between me and you and every living creature with you, a covenant for all generations to come. I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Whenever I bring clouds over the earth and the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you and all living creatures of every kind. Never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all life. Whenever the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and all living creatures of every kind on the earth. So God said to Noah, this is the sign of the covenant I have established between me and all life on the earth. Verse 18. The sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. These were the three sons of Noah, and from them came the people who scattered over the earth. Noah, a man of the soil, proceeded to plant a vineyard. When he drank some of its wine, he became drunk and lay uncovered inside his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father's nakedness and told his two brothers outside. But Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it across their shoulders. Then they walked in backward and covered their father's nakedness. Their faces were turned the other way so they would not see their father's nakedness. When Noah awoke from his wine and found out what his youngest son had done to him, he said, Cursed be Canaan! The lowest of slaves will he be to his brothers. He also said, Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem. May Canaan be the slave of Shem. May God extend the territory of Japheth. May Japheth live in the tents of Shem. And may Canaan be his slave. After the flood, Noah lived 350 years. Altogether, Noah lived 950 years, and then he died. By the way, why did we say that people were living so long? Because the people were living hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Why do we say that?
Because it was still the beginning of time.
Right. What had happened? First of all, were we meant to die originally?
No.
No. We were meant to live forever. But sin entered through Adam. Adam's fall caused the curse by God that everybody would die. But the curse didn't come overnight, totally impacting the earth. It slowly has worked its way in. And so for centuries and centuries, people's lifespan shortened. So part of the reason why Noah is living as long as he is because he is going to die. We will see it. But because his lifespan, with each generation, the lifespans get shorter and shorter. In fact, the Bible says people won't live past 120. All right? Okay.
In those days too, God controlled everything.
God controls everything.
So really, time-wise, what we think of 365 days, if God was controlling it, it wouldn't make any difference.
Yeah, the Bible said that to God, a single day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a single day. So if God wants to, he can go right back and see this time period.
So their summertime could have been, where ours might be 3 months, their summertime could have been
Absolutely,
more.
absolutely, absolutely.
With God controlling.
Doesn't see now people are living longer again?
Yep, and you know why that is? Medical technology.
Really?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. No, absolutely. Just hypertension medicine alone keeps people alive so much longer. My wife's a nurse, and I'm a healthcare administrator. In fact, my job is to keep people alive. So I spend a lot of my time helping doctors do a better job. But just medicine alone. Then there's surgery. and all kinds of other things. So what was killing people back in the 30s and 40s doesn't kill them anymore. There's no polio, all right? All the disease, many of the diseases have been eliminated. And it's all because God has given us this great medicine and has given us bodies that can take that medicine and stay healthy.
So we're losing the battle on is the food end of it.
Right. Well, we
All
yeah.
this junk that they're putting in the foods now.
Right.
The stuff they're feeding the animals
Yep.
isn't as healthy as it
Yeah.
used to be way back when. So
Right.
the animals aren't as healthy.
Yep.
The plants aren't as healthy.
Right.
So your food isn't as healthy.
Yep. But our lifespan continues to be pretty long.
Yeah, it's like she said, it's gotten better
Yep.
over the last few years. But I think it's gonna. I believe. I think the food's gonna win out. Look at the obesity now.
Right.
In the world, especially the United States.
That's because people who do not know how to make good choices for themselves, evil in their heart, and they got it automatically drawn to bad food. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. All right, so going back to chapter 9, verse 1. Then God blessed Noah and his sons, saying to them, now where'd you hear this before? Be fruitful and increase in number and fill the earth. Where have you heard that before?
Adam and Eve.
Right off the bat, Genesis chapter 2 and 3, right? Mm-hmm. God is reinstating, all right, his call for us to be fruitful and multiply. All right, so he's just starting all over again. This is a do-over.
Yep.
For those who remember do-overs, this is a do-over. Watch this, though. Things change in verse 2. The fear and dread of you will fall upon all the beasts of the earth and all the birds of the air, upon every creature that moves along the ground, and upon all the fish of the sea. They are given into your hands. Verse 3, everything that lives and moves will be food for you. Just as I gave you the green plants, I now give you everything. So what does that mean?
Meat.
I think people were already eating meat at the time, all right, but they did it without God's permission. Now they all have. He'll give them the right to do it.
And he wants them to be accountable for it.
Yes. Well, first of all, he wants to be under his jurisdiction, under his approval. Go ahead, Mike.
It also shows you that the true power of God, because God controls all the animals, every insect, everything.
Oh, it sure does.
Because when he went with Noah's, after he built the ark, God said the animals will come to you.
Right.
And now God's giving the animals back to man. So he's taken his control away from the animals.
Yeah, but also notice now that the animals are going to be afraid of man.
Right. Because God's taken,
right.
Even though he still has power over them, he's giving man the power now.
Yeah, see, again, Adam and Eve, right, the animals weren't afraid of us.
Right.
We weren't eating them, for starters. But because Adam and Eve sinned, what's the first thing God does as far as animals are concerned?
He clothes them.
He clothes.
With animal skin.
Hi, Sister Sherry. How you doing? He clothes them. So the animals die. There's a shedding of blood right there. Automatically, right off the bat, the animals suffer because of our sin. Just to cover the sin, because Adam and Eve noticed that they were naked. And that wasn't an issue before sin, but now it was. Hi, hon. How you doing? Come on, have a seat. We're right in the middle of Genesis chapter 9.
Want some soup?
Are you hungry?
Some chicken noodle soup?
No, thank you. They finished early today. I was doing another tour today.
Okay.
She ended early.
Good. So now Noah mankind now has the authority to eat any animal, all right? Which means now animals need to run from us, all right? Because they're going to get slaughtered. So you see, that's the fear and dread that God is explaining in Genesis chapter 9. Now watch verse 4 though. Okay, watch verse 4. But you must not eat meat that has its lifeblood still in it. Verse 5. And for your lifeblood I will surely demand an accounting. I will demand an accounting from every animal. And from each man too, I will demand an accounting for the life of his fellow man. Now wait a minute. He's leading up to this thing about how now he's going to punish murderers. See, before he took care of it. He's the one that decided for Cain. All right? So here's a situation where you cannot eat meat with the lifeblood still in it. This is, again, these barbarous ways that he is going to separate. I want you to know that later on in the Torah, in the Jewish law, God still requires that. He still said you cannot eat meat with the lifeblood still in it. There's a couple of reasons for it. So for something to be kosher, for a Jewish person to eat, the animal has to be slaughtered a certain way so it will die quickly and painlessly, and then all the blood has to be drained from it. Now, today in America, we're really not that much into eating animals with lifeblood in it. That's just not, but it was back then. Why do you think not having the lifeblood in it was so important to God?
Because man was made in God's image.
This is an animal.
Yeah, but
Why does he want the lifeblood out of the animal before you eat it?
for the remission of sins.
Well, there will be a shedding of blood for the remission of sins. Blood is critical to God. Lifeblood is critical to God.
Right.
All right, he takes it very seriously. Okay. Also, he's setting this up for man. And you're going to see this now. So let's just jump right into verse 6, and you'll see it. Remember, he finishes in verse 5 by saying, "And from each man too I will demand an accounting for the life of his fellow man." If you remember going back to Cain and Abel, remember when after Cain slew Abel, and God asked him, where was he? What was Cain's response?
Am I my brother's keeper?
And here in verse 5, all right, I will demand an accounting for the life of his fellow man. So the answer is yes, Cain, you are your brother's keeper. We are all our brother's keeper. God answers Cain here. Verse 6, whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed. So in other words, we're given permission to do capital punishment. All right? For in the image of God has God made man. He gives the reason. God gives the reason. We are all made in his image. We don't look like him necessarily, right? But the idea that we have free will, we have the capacity for great love, we have the capacity to do so many great things. That's that image of God. So he does not want that to be messed with or murder. Verse 7, as for you, again he repeats it, be fruitful and increase in number, multiply on the earth and increase upon it. Verse 8, then God said to Noah and to his sons with him, I now establish my covenant with you. This is the Noahic covenant. And with your descendants after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the livestock, and the wild animals, all that came out of the ark with you, every living creature on earth, I establish my covenant with you. Never again will all life be cut off by the waters of a flood. Okay, God is letting us know he's never going to cause a worldwide flood. But there are other options for him to end the world. Never again will there be a flood to destroy the earth. So in verse 12. And God said, this is the sign of the covenant. It's pretty interesting. Now some of us believe that there really wasn't any rain before on the earth. Okay. This is one of the reasons why I don't believe there was rain. I believe it was mists, but I don't think there was rain. All right? Because I think the rainbow was created at this point. This is the first time he brings out a rainbow. This is the sign of the covenant. I am making between me and you and every living creature with you a covenant for all generations to come. I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of covenant between me and the earth. All right, $100 says right now that every time you see the rainbow, you don't think this is the covenant between God and Noah.
Oh, you do. Absolutely.
You do.
Absolutely.
All right, I don't. I look at it and go, man, that's gorgeous. Is there a pot of gold at the other end of it? That kind of thing. That's what I'm into.
The Irish got that wrong.
Right. Well, I was always
I'm Irish,
hoping.
and they got that wrong.
When we look at we start counting the colors and stuff like that, and all those kind of things. But this is that sign. That's the reason why the rainbow exists, and why I really do believe that rain started at this time. Verse 14, whenever I bring clouds over the earth and the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you and all living creatures of every kind. Never again will the waters... Look, he keeps repeating it. Never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all life. Whenever the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and all living creatures of every kind on the earth. So God said to Noah, this is the sign of the covenant I have established between me and all the life on earth. Okay? God keeps his promises. All right, now, so this is the second part of chapter 9. So something very strange happens here. All right? Very strange. With me on being strange? This is strange.
Yeah.
All right. Verse 18. I'm looking at everybody. I'm working my way around the table, Mike. The sons of Noah who came out of the ark were who? Japheth, right? Shem. Let's keep that name in your mind. All right? All right. Ham and Japheth. Watch this. Ham was the father of Canaan. There's a reason why they point that out. These were the three sons of Noah, and from them came the people who scattered over the earth. Verse 20. Noah, right? Remember going back when Noah came out, he built the altar and he sacrificed animals.
Right.
All right? But guess what Noah does for a living?
He's a winery.
He's a farmer. That's right. He's a farmer. He's a farmer. Noah, a man of the soil, just like Abel or Cain.
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 Canaan.
Yeah, but he's like Cain.
Yeah, I know. Cain.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's like the guy who slaughtered Abel. All right? See, there's nothing wrong with being a farmer. It was the way Cain approached God with his offerings. Noah, a farmer, knows how to do it right. Okay? All right. But something bad happens here. Noah, a man of the soil, proceeded to plant a vineyard. Nothing wrong with that. Obviously, a lot of time had to pass, all right, for the grapes to grow. Although I think in these days, a lot of things grew a lot faster. I think, we've talked about this before, I think women were able to bear children, right, a lot easier, all right, because one of the curses on women would be from now on, they would bear children in great suffering. But they could produce more children, I believe, in those days. Okay. 21. When he, Noah, drank some of his wine, he became drunk and lay uncovered inside his tent. I don't think he could hold his wine. All right? I don't think he could hold his wine. Of his sons, which one discovers him?
Ham.
Ham. What does Ham do?
Goes and tells his two brothers.
Thanks a lot, Ham. Thanks, pal. I'm glad you're looking out for me. All right, it's a good thing there wasn't 6 billion people on the planet, or else you'd be on the internet with pictures, right? Ham doesn't show respect for his father. This might be again those things about evil in our heart, since inclination towards evil. Goes to his two brothers, tells them, what do they do?
Cover him up.
And do they look at him while they're covering him up? No. They take the covering, they put it on their shoulders, they walk in backwards and lay it over their father. Why?
To respect their dad.
How do people feel about being naked? Didn't we already run through this? They're very much ashamed. They're very self-conscious of this. So this whole thing about being uncovered is not acceptable. So the two younger brothers, all right, protect their father, even against himself. Okay. How does Noah react to Ham?
Cursed be Canaan.
Not Ham.
Ham is the son of Canaan.
Ham is the father of Canaan.
Father of Canaan.
He doesn't curse Ham. He curses his son.
Not happy.
Right. So let's pause for a second. All right. What do we know about the Canaanites?
They were always at odds with the Jews.
Always at odds with Israel. Always at odds with God's people. Always. Think Noah might be able to see this coming? Of his sons, the one that was eventually going to be a descendant of him would be the ones coming from Ham. Ham is the one that will produce them. Verse 24, when Noah woke from his wine and found out what his youngest son had done to him, he said, "Cursed be Canaan. The lowest of slaves will he be to his brothers." He also said, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem. May Canaan be the slave of Shem. May God extend the territory of Japheth. May Japheth live in the tents of Shem." Boy, Shem's going to make out really good. "And may Canaan be his slave." All right. Take the word Shem. Let's just use the word Shem. Shemites, Hamites, Japhites. All right? These are the people groups that will come out of them. Shemite. Drop the H. What do you get? Semites. Who comes from the Semites? What does it mean to be Semitic?
Jewish.
Jews. Here's where the Jews come from. They come from Shem. To be at odds with Ham's descendants, the Canaanites. All right. Okay. So this is where the trouble begins. Look how far back. This is where the trouble begins. Once sin enters the camp, and we'll see this over and over and over again. Over and over again as we go through Genesis. Over and over again. Everything, and we've talked about this before, if we boil the Bible down to just one word, what is that word?
Well, it's the story of redemption.
Redemption. It's constantly about God, the people of God rejecting God, moving away from Him because of our sinful nature, right, the human nature, and then God doing whatever He can to bring us back. And then we turn and reject Him. Especially when He blesses us. The quickest way to forget God is to have everything go well for you. Wait a minute, but that's the big word is counterintuitive. You would think that if God was really, really great to us, we would want Him all the more. But now it's our free will.
We don't need them anymore.
We don't need Him anymore. You know, and so we forget Him.
Gratitude goes out the window.
Yeah, and the irony here is that when God disciplines us, we draw closer to Him. It's so weird. Our nature is so strange. All right? So here it is. The beginning of troubles, the beginning of sorrows. This is going to make a big, big difference as we go forward. Because next week we're going to fly right through chapter 10, because it's the Table of Nations. But then we're going to get into chapter 11. And the greatest hero almost of all time. And we've studied a lot of heroes, haven't we?
Yeah, so far.
One of the greatest heroes of all time is going to come on the scene. Abraham. In the form of Abram at first. But boy, did he have his problems. So we'll finish with this. Verse 28. After the flood, Noah lived 350 more years, so he could produce tons of children. Altogether, Noah lived 950 years, and then he died. And that's it. Any questions?
Praise the Lord.
Baruch Hashem. Baruch atah Adonai. All right? Blessed be God and blessed be His name. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next time.